COVID-19 clinical research. As part of the U.S. government's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, NIAID is conducting and supporting clinical research to prevent, treat, and better understand the respiratory illness. These efforts are made possible by the generous contributions of clinical research volunteers and are complemented by additional clinical research studies across the globe. They include clinical trials evaluating therapeutics and vaccine candidates against SARS-CoV-2, the novel coronavirus that causes COVID-19, as well as studies of people who have recovered from infection. Volunteer for COVID-19 clinical studies. NIAID is conducting and supporting a range of clinical studies to prevent, treat, and better understand coronavirus infectious disease 19 or COVID-19, as well as the virus that causes it, SARS-CoV-2, organizational and funding approaches. Operation Warp Speed. Operation Warp Speed, or OWS, is a partnership led by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to invest in and coordinate the development, manufacturing, and distribution of COVID-19 diagnostics, therapeutics, and vaccines. Notably, OWS, or Operation Warp Speed, will manufacture promising candidate vaccines at an industrial scale concurrent to the efficacy and safety Phase 3 trials. Once safe and effective candidates are identified, Operation Warp Speed will be prepared to quickly implement a distribution plan. NIAID is engaging in established clinical trial networks to support OWS. Accelerating COVID therapeutic interventions and vaccines. On April 17, 2020, NIH announced the Accelerating COVID-19 Therapeutic Interventions and Vaccines, or ACTIV, public-private partnership to develop a coordinated research strategy for prioritizing and speeding development of the most promising treatments and vaccines. Coordinated by the Foundation for the National Institutes of Health, ACTIV brings together NIH and other HHS organizations, including the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority, or BARDA, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or FDA. Other government agencies, including the Department of Defense, DoD, and Department of Veterans Affairs, VA, the European Medicines Agency, or EMA, and representatives from academia, philanthropic organizations, and numerous biopharmaceutical companies. Leveraging HIV/AIDS clinical trial networks. NIAID has established the COVID-19 Prevention Network, or CoVPN, by merging 4 existing NIAID-funded clinical trials networks. HIV Vaccine Trials Networks, based in Seattle, also known as HVTN. HIV Prevention Trials Network, HPTN, based in Durham, North Carolina. Infectious Diseases Clinical Research Consortium, or IDCRC, based in Atlanta, Georgia. The AIDS Clinical Trials Group, based in Los Angeles, California. While continuing to perform clinical trials for vaccines and preventions for HIV and other infectious diseases, the network will use already existing structures and processes in their new COVID-19 roles. For example, the network has an established extensive community engagement framework to reach out to potential research volunteers and explain the specific details involved in participating in a vaccine or monoclonal antibody clinical study. CoVPN is a functional unit of OWS. The network will use a harmonized vaccine protocol developed by the Active Public-Private Partnership. This will enable analysis of correlates of protection across multiple vaccine trials. The network is expected to operate more than 100 clinical trial sites across the United States and internationally. Vaccine clinical trials. The NIAID is funding clinical trials ensuring the safety and efficacy of 2 vaccine candidates. Trials are being implemented as part of the multi-agency Operation Warp Speed. This public-private partnership, accelerating COVID-19 therapeutic interventions and vaccines, or ACTIVE, also guides the development of the trial protocols to ensure a coordinated approach across multiple vaccine efficacy trials. Clinical trials of mRNA-1273. Based on promising results from early-stage clinical testing, the messenger RNA-1273 vaccine moved to Phase 3 clinical testing in late July 2020. The trial is designed to evaluate the safety of messenger RNA-1273 and to determine if the vaccine can prevent symptomatic COVID-19 after 2 doses. As secondary goals, the trial also aims to study whether the vaccine can prevent severe COVID-19 or laboratory-confirmed SARS-CoV-2 infection with or without disease symptoms. The trial also seeks to answer if the vaccine can prevent death caused by COVID-19 and whether just 1 dose can prevent symptomatic COVID-19, among other objectives. The trial, which is being conducted at U.S. clinical research sites, is expected to enroll approximately 30,000 adult volunteers who do not have COVID-19. The NIAID COVID-19 Prevention Network, or CoVPN, will participate in conducting the trial. Investigators will use public health data and incidence trajectory modeling to identify sustained high incidence areas and emerging hot zones. So sites near these locations can be prioritized for enrollment. Clinical trials of AZD1222. Scientists at NIAID's Rocky Mountain Laboratories, based in Hamilton, Montana, conducted a preclinical study of AZD1222. Their findings, published in Nature, indicate that the candidate vaccine rapidly induced immune responses against SARS-CoV-2 in mice and rhesus macaques. A single dose of the vaccine protected 6 rhesus macaques from pneumonia caused by the virus. Based on the RML data, a Phase 1 trial of the candidate vaccine began on April 23, 2020, in healthy volunteers in the United Kingdom. Investigators reported promising results in The Lancet. Currently, the vaccine candidate is being evaluated in Phase 2 and Phase 3 trials in the United Kingdom and Brazil, and in Phase 1 and Phase 2 trial in South Africa. In early September 2020, a Phase 3 clinical trial evaluating AZD1222 began primarily to determine if AZD1222 can prevent symptomatic COVID-19 after 2 doses. The trial also will evaluate if the vaccine candidate can prevent SARS-CoV-2 infection regardless of symptoms and if it can prevent severe COVID-19. It also will assess if the experimental vaccine can reduce the incidence of emergency department visits due to COVID-19. The Phase 3 trial will enroll approximately 30,000 adult volunteers at 80 sites in the United Kingdom through the CoVPN. The United Kingdom-based global biopharmaceutical company AstraZeneca is leading the trial as regulatory sponsor. NIAID and the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority, or BARDA, part of the HHS Office of the Assistant Secretary for Preparedness and Response, are providing funding support for the trial.